and then I got the course about a year ago. So I love just meeting new TQHers. So I just wanted to say hello.
Thank you. Hello. I'll look into your Telegram forum.
Yeah, Kelly did a heck of a job putting, I'm when it comes to stuff like that, if I got time to do that, I'll be doing something else. So Kelly said, "Hey, let me help out." And I'm like, "Cool."
Oh, that's
And,
great.
and uh, we we've done a lot of work on Kelly. Kelly came from a real dark place, and we've certainly lifted some spirits up a little bit.
Exorcisms. That's putting it mildly. Yeah, no.
Stuff.
Finding TQH has been really interesting, and yeah, it's been one of these things where until kind of getting referred to Chris, and even when I met Chris and then Ty and Nicola and Yara and a couple other TQHers, it was one of these things where I was like, oh wow, it's like I feel like kind of my life starts over at this point, almost kind of like a reset to what could have been had the interference not been there in a way. And again, there's so many ways to look at all of this, but it's been a process of experiencing, integrating, being like, oh, that's the name for the thing I keep seeing.
The big thing is understanding it all and how it affects you.
Exactly. And I didn't have any connection with that. I did when I first came in, but then there was some issues that kind of caused for all of us. We often deal with a lot of interference. So now it's like, okay, now what? And I feel like the more I get into TQH, let alone everything that's interconnecting, the more baby-like I feel. And I'm like, oh my God, I know nothing. I know nothing. It's always shifting.
The basics of TQH is okay. So we're right here right now, and if you look at the past, like go back 8,000 years, is completely different than what's coming from this side into the future. Okay, so it's learning to shed all the beliefs and things in the past, and learning a new way to deal with them in order that we can raise our vibration. That's what I'm really finding. Case in point is, I really don't refer to the chakra system, the aura, the meridians. We kind of ball it all up together in the grids. Okay, everything is a grid pattern. My mentor Wayne, he's an earth grid engineer. And so we kind of refer to everything as a grid. All the grids intertwine, all grids get distorted, manipulated, et cetera, et cetera. So it's for me, it's finding a new way to deal with an old problem. Mm-hmm. You're going to deal with old problems in the old way, you're not really going to get anywhere. It might just take a lot longer, let's say. So it's for me, it's learning new stuff. And within a lot of people we work with, we do find some people may be carrying a code, a secret, a key, a thought that has to be given to source in order to unlock those doors that are coming up. So learning about the past in the future is really helping in a lot of ways. So it's a lot to do with keeping not just an open mind, but an open life as to what's coming in and how things are affecting us.
And I knew there was more. And when I found your first video, I was like, oh, this is it. So I dove in and just started learning as much as I could. And mostly for family, I just wanted to do more in my heart. I knew there was something I could do.
Well, and that's the thing is that everybody's looking for an answer. What's causing this? What's causing that? Is it 50,000 things that you've heard on the internet, but from old school teachings and old philosophies, or is it something new? Is it the military? Is it a manipulation of 5G? And 5G seems to be the scapegoat for everything nowadays, and we're just kind of learning that they're just kind of turning it on now. Hasn't really been on. Maybe it has been in a military aspect because. Of course, the internet was created when they created all the particle accelerators so they can all talk together. So the military, I'm sure, has had this going for quite a while. At what level? Maybe for their own good. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, you can't trust the government nowadays, can you? Ty's laughing. And Lance has chimed in. How's it going, Lance? So we're gonna just jump right into it. Welcome everybody here. We try to do a webinar like 4 times a year or so, whenever we think the time is right to get everybody together. There's a lot of new people that have joined TQH, which I appreciate very much. We're hoping to see some of them, but is what it is. This is going to be recorded. We can share it with people. We can put it on Telegram, Miss Kelly, and we can make sure that people get this information. So, of course, again, everybody wants answers. What's the treat of the week? What's the clearing of the week? Again, it all starts with the pre-clearing. Okay, before we can get into deeper stuff, there's always this pre-clearing we have to do, which is getting rid of spells, getting rid of negative thoughts, vortexes, and whatever source leads to on the letter chart. That's where we go with the pre-clearing. So the latest pre-clearing has been disconnecting from the underworld. What's the underworld? Well, this is an area that was created by King Solomon in order for him to control and use the energies for his benefit. And in the underworld is a lot of souls that King Solomon, through all these different avenues and slavery, has brought in to use the soul as a component for his control. So if you look at the underworld, that's where the source of witchcraft is. And witchcraft is one of the biggest things that I found is a problem within everybody. How does all of a sudden a problem pop up? I've had lots of things happen to me, and it all comes down to some kind of witchcraft. So you learn about it, you know what they're trying to do. Of course, they're trying to lower vibration to stop ascension. That's the ways and means of everything nowadays. Dark is to stop ascension. We tried ascension back in 1918. That didn't go very well. So now we got it again, but this time it's going through. So we've learned a lot since then. We're definitely heading in the right direction. The right energies are coming in. We did some work with the firmament a couple weeks ago. The firmament being the Oort cloud that's around our galaxy, our solar system. And that tends to be let's call it a dome, a ceiling, whatever. If you get past that, now you're in a dark alley in the Bronx and you're going to get a thumping. So many people, they want to go astral traveling. Hey, let's go to Sirius B and see what's going on there. Can't do that. You can't go past the firmament without any kind of repercussions. Sometimes we get taken there inadvertently in our dreams. Sometimes things happen in certain ways that we end up there, and you can't get back in without a ticket. Okay, you have to have that ticket that you didn't do anything wrong. A lot of planets outside the other galaxies are basically peace planets, and they don't want you bringing your war stuff with you. So there's all these different ways and means for them to keep us out. I know Sirius is locked. I've had a few clients tell me they intended to go to Sirius. I said, you didn't go to Sirius. That's locked. You can't get in there. So they end up going somewhere else. Where did they go? Into the underworld. So once you're connected with that underworld, you're grounded to it, and many of us are. Now they have access to you through different souls. So a soul can be a walk-in, depending on how much control they have, depending what that soul was when they were living. You could have the soul of Aleister Crowley. Who knows? I mean, that you get that evil in you through that soul concept, and that starts to sway you, control you, take your mind off of things and go somewhere else. I've got some clients who are very deep in that underworld, and it's going to be a real tough battle to get them out, but we're here to battle, aren't we? So that's once you can disconnect that person through a vortex or a gravity portal from the underworld, unground them from the underworld, and remove all the vortexes and the souls that may be within the soul grid. When I say soul grid, we can have a few different types of souls that connect us to different things. Once you can clean all that up, then things become a lot clearer. And that's what I've been finding is that the disconnecting from that underworld seems to be the big ticket, the big key from releasing us from anything dark. Has anybody else seen anything like that?
I was told by a healer
You keep cutting in and out, Paula.
Oh, I was told by a healer that I had a call with that I was connected to some of the people that knew Crowley. I was kind of expecting that. I'd never heard of that before, but I felt something.
Okay. Yeah, you're still cutting in and out.
Oh, so they just recommended a healing, to do clearing, but talked about a vortex being in my home, which was kind of scary, a little bit.
Our houses
Luckily, I have.
can have a vortex to these energies. Everything is vibration. Everything is living, and we can have all these vortexes and connections with different spirits, different souls, different levels of the underworld. Possibly, I still know that we're going to be getting into more concepts of the underworld. We know it was created by King Solomon. We know that the things like the lesser key of Solomon are very instrumental in all that. That's one answer that has come up consistently in the past couple of weeks is the lesser key of Solomon, all these spells, all these books that were written by him. And the original lesser key, the Ars Notoria, is in the Vatican Library. So there's the evil right there. Is King Solomon down there? Maybe they know it, maybe they don't. Probably do. Who knows?
Chris,
But
can you speak to and I don't want to, I just realized I cut you off. But you had mentioned about how the mirrors were connecting in with this, like the grays, the intent, like manipulating our own intent through mirror magic. So basically it really is our own intent that's coming back to us.
yeah. So now here's a concept is that let's go back quite a bit. So to learn about dark magic and witchcraft and black magic and all that, I went on the internet, on YouTube, and found all these different videos that teach you how to do it. So the old scenario, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That's what we did, and I learned how to do sigils, which was kind of interesting in its own right. But the mirror magic, what can happen is somebody's trying to do black magic on you. So now they have like a hair sample, they have a picture, whatever, a thought of you, your birth date, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to take their intent to cause black magic on you off of a mirror onto you. That takes the blame off of them. So now they got no dirty karma when they give it to a mirror. Okay, so now quite often, if we're going to have any kind of self-sabotage, that mirror is always there, and we can project a negative thought about ourselves, some kind of negative feeling off that mirror onto us. So basically now we just want to dissolve the mirror. You make that intent. If that person has a mirror that's reflecting negativity back, dissolve the mirror. It's actually quite simple. So that tends to, again, open the door to get to that point. I have a radionic device that I started using before I started using the tools and so forth. And with it's a very older one where it uses little vials of water that have vibration of whatever. You can put the vibration of whatever into these. So if I'm going to work on somebody, I take the vibration of the person, put it in the device, and then I put the vibration of a mirror in there, and then whatever I want to remove, you're reflecting off the mirror onto the person. And that is a very old, let's call it underworld way of doing things. And I remember a friend of mine in Winnipeg, very intuitive, very sensitive, was going to come to my office and see me. And he said, halfway there, I had to turn around and go back. I felt so much negative energy coming off that thing. I was like, okay, something's going on here. We need to figure it out. And now seeing the way that operates, it's interesting to know that we're seeing it this way and that way. So there's the confirmations that this is how things are being done. Ty, what do you know about mirror magic? You know all that stuff.
Mirrors and certain types of water and fluids are used as portals. So it basically can be an access point to the astral, lower astral dimensions and things like that. That's usually what I know about mirror magic. Like when you look into a mirror, sometimes you can see things that you can't see in the room, and you're gonna know there's a portal there. So I think more like portals and things like that. My findings.
Has anybody ever taken two mirrors and held them side by in front of each other, and then you see that ongoing dimension? You want to call it a dimension?
Yeah,
You
like
know,
like a mirror funhouse sort of thing.
like a mirror funhouse. Yeah. I mean, is that dimensions, portals, alternate realities? What the heck is that?
In the esoteric arts, it would be many dimensions.
So, Ty, when you say the word dimension, what do you think of?
Well, sometimes different places, but then sometimes just different frequencies in the same place, like octaves or something like that.
So just different
So,
different realities, different possibilities can be within those mirror reflections.
yeah, exactly.
So of course that opens a question: what do you do about that?
That was going to be my question.
Dissolve the mirrors.
Right.
So we can now go there, dissolve these mirrors, dissolve these intents. Who else is coming in? Nobody else is coming in. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one of the next biggest thing that almost every week there's a new clearing that tends to come in. It might last a few days, and then it's gone because we tried it. Oh, that wasn't quite it. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. But the witchcraft was definitely something that's been there for a long time, and we all have stories about people we knew who may be a witch, people who do witchcraft. Lots of people like to joke around and have fun, pull out a Ouija board and open sesame. Let's talk to somebody. But the concept of witchcraft has been a governing source of energy for a long time, and that's why the ascension process is happening for source to come in and say, now it's time for good stuff. That's what we're really looking at, and again, going back, this is the new way of dealing with an old problem that really works. We're giving witchcraft a spanking, sending it on its way, and then get to the real value of what's happening within people. I mean, I've had things happen. I mean, Ty, remember when my blood pressure was 260 over 180?
I do.
I felt fantastic. It's like, what's going on here? My blood pressure is sky frickin' high, and I feel fine. Nothing's going on. Off to the hospital I go. So they strap me down because I want to leave. And it's, okay, let's play this game. Let's see where it goes. And I talked to the doctor and he just let me go home. I said, look at all these people around me. They're sick. I'm not sick. Let's go home and deal with this. One day, I find that there's blood in my semen. It's like, what's going on here? Nobody kicked me in the jewels lately. And it's all a witchcraft spell. It's all things that are designed to lower your vibration. Now you're paying attention to that. Now you're paying attention to this. Look at what the whole COVID thing and vaccine thing is. It's all taking our attention away and putting us in a place where we don't want to be. So my concept of the so-called virus and the vaccine is stay neutral. Whatever, play the game if you have to. Just go forward with it and know it is going to end eventually. Okay, it's all fear-based. It's all to lower your vibration through fear. And there's lots of different concepts about what it is, where it is, how it is. I was told about in a one way, shape, or form, I was told about this COVID thing when I started doing this work. When I learned I could take the letter chart, and we'll get into that later, take the letter chart, ask a question, and get an answer. Okay, I started by talking to some people in my life who had passed away, and I got some answers. It's like, I'm talking to my mom. Hey, how you doing, Mom? It's kind of cool. Then I asked a question, because where I come from, and we can all probably attest to this. I was in the printing industry for 28 years. Every day after work was going to the bar, having a few extras, you know, eating crappy food and just, you know, living a lifestyle of whatever. So I'm like, why me? Why is a person like me doing this? And the answer I got was because of an accident at the virology lab in Winnipeg. We have a level 4 virology lab here, and there's a connection to Wuhan. Okay? So 10, 12 years ago, I was told about this. So it is, you can call it prophecy if you like. It's definitely something that needs to be paid attention to in that regard. So a prophecy always has to be fulfilled. So it has to run its course, let's say. Or we can find a way to get in and you know, take the legs out from under it. So if you figure, is this really a virus? Is it really some kind of something set within our DNA that's going to activate all of a sudden? Is it a parasite? Is it witchcraft? What is it? So I've worked on you know, quite a few people with COVID, and you know, we move all this energy and they get better. Okay, they do get better, and it's like, okay, well, what is it? It's going to be different for everybody. So you can't look at it as one thing, and that's what the medical community does. If anybody here is a member of the medical community, I love you, and you do a beautiful thing. But ultimately, the medical community wants to put everything in one basket. This is what it is. This is how you treat it. And of course, the conspiracy theories go on and on and on about, well, that Bill Gates is making a ton of money off this and blah, 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 and this and that. Sure, they are. But what's important is you and I. Don't worry about what they're doing, because they're going to do it. They're so rich and famous and have all this power. They're going to do it. Are they gray aliens? Are they reptilians? There's a good chance they're governed by that type of thing, but ultimately it's very much a thing that you don't worry about what's going on over there. I worry about me, my family, and that person in front of me we're doing a session with. That's the only thing we can worry about. If you want to go further and try and figure out the whole thing, is it weaponized something by the government? Is it something from the great beyond? You know, all the gods are throwing lightning bolts at us. If you want to go ahead and figure it out and you know, move some energy, you know, you feel free and do that. You have free will and you can do that. But ultimately, what it really is what it is. Does that make any sense? I tend to go off on some rants once in a while. Any thoughts on that? I guess
if I'm working with people, and there seems to be multiple causes of pathologies that are being spread out. Some of it black magic, some of it nano, some of it possibly viral or parasitic. I mean, there's a lot of things. So the spell is everything on this planet is COVID, but it's not. So, I mean, or it's misdescribed, right? So, you might have a cold, you might have a flu, you might have a parasite, you might have nano, you might have some black magic. So you just got to douse and figure out what it really is.
Yeah, start here, end here, do a clearing, find all of the things involved. Don't look for the one particular thing. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. Now, parasites, worm parasites, they're very much witchcraft. If you get a parasite, you're eating food, you get a parasite, you either run to the bathroom really quick or it takes a day or so for it to get out, and it'll get out. So parasites, look at it. If you see the word parasite, it's a worm parasite, single cell parasite. You have to look for the witchcraft behind it, because something is stopping your body from saying, oh, we need to get rid of this. Because ultimately your body does. I mean, my wife and I were in Mexico a couple of years ago. We ate some fettuccine Alfredo, and my goodness, we both running to the bathroom at the same time to get rid of this thing. And we got rid of it, whether it's a bacteria, parasite, same thing, things that live off of you. So if it's a real parasite, something that's infected the food or the water, you're going to know by getting sick right away. If it's something that stays dormant for a long, long time, there's definitely going to be some kind of witchcraft involved.
I'd like to chime in here on that, because as someone who's been through pretty extensive parasite issues, that I realize now are really lifelong. I'm learning for me and for my clients to really take a look at not just the physical, but the mirror in a sense to the non-physical. And almost always, if there's physical parasites, there's energetic and vice versa. So it's, I can see what's into the gut, and spilling over into the lymph and everything else, but also it's the energetic parasites in the auric fields and everything else. And as Chris, you always talk about, well, it's like you got to be very careful with what you're clearing and how, because it is sometimes for certain clients like a house of cards. So you don't want to pull the wrong card too quickly, and then it can cause a lot more chaos for the client or yourself. And so that's been one of the things, kind of going through this process of being like, all right, I can now gratefully, with the support of TQH, be able to see it was like just beyond my ability to see before. So now I can see it, but also now being able to hone the intuition and the discernment and source guidance despite any interference to know, all right, hold on, what do I do with this and how? And that's where the course for me has been one of these where it's like, all right, it's acknowledging everything that I'm picking up on, but now how do we go about this in a way where we don't cause more chaos, which is what I feel like a lot of, again, pulling from my own experience, the medical community and even a lot of other energy type healing modalities don't take into account. And so that's where I'm really grateful for this method, and to continue coming back to, all right, source guidance. Am I clear enough to douse? Like all these questions that even lead up to, what is my level of clarity right now? Where is this coming from? That discernment first to know, is this the right thing to do? So I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, as above, so below, right?
Exactly.
Parasite in the body, energy parasite. That could all correlate together. Witchcraft spell in the grids, problem in the body. It all, you'll have to consider all of that. And again, the word grids, what I use is, there could be a heart grid, brain grid, substantia nigra, brain grid. There could be all these different grids that contain a node of what that thing is and how it's reacting with the physical body. So when we talk about the energy components, we still go into the light fields. The magnetic fields are very big. But when you look at things as a grid structure, and that there's not a chakra for each thing, but there's a grid for each thing, and how it all interacts with the rest of the grid. So ultimately, by clearing that, you can get more into the physical, etc., etc. Now let's go forward. Anybody using the letter chart?
Well, yes.
Now let me comment on this. Now for me, it's very important to be able to learn how to use a letter chart and know how to understand it, because at the end of the day, we're working with people as practitioners, and we want if you get the wrong answer, you're not going to do anything. So I use it as a confirmation. Now a lot of people get a little bit willy about the letter chart, thinking it's like a Ouija board or something. Well, it's connected to source. It's not a Ouija board. It's not connecting with the dark energies unless you want it to, which of course you don't want to. So when I'm using it, I get a lot of sometimes gibberish, the same answer over and over again. They start saying something, they go back and forth, but ultimately the answer does come out. So I like to use it as a confirmation, and I always start with the same question: what problem within this person's body? If it's a problem or not, then the source will start showing me the answer, and you can get a confirmation on where to go. So sometimes now, if that person has got a bad soul attachment from the underworld, when you're using the charts with just starting with the questions and going to the master and to the stressor, you can get a lot of misleading answers sometimes. And by using a letter chart, it really helps to get past that. It helps you realize, oh, somebody's trying to trick me. All right, and that's where I find the best use out of it is asking two different ways, getting different answers, and knowing, okay, we're on the right track with things. So if you haven't learned to use it yet, my suggestion is get on it. Somebody joining? Get on using it, and using it every day. Just ask for updates, ask for what problem within my body, and you'll learn the language that goes back and forth. Some of the language I get out of it are things that I would normally use on a daily basis, different acronyms, different ways of saying things. I like to joke around a lot. Sometimes I'll get a joke back. It reflects what I think, and it puts it in my language so I can understand it. So ultimately, if you can understand how it's working with you, how it's interacting, and how it's interacting with the charts, then you're off to the races, kids. Let me tell you something. Any comments on the letter chart?
I like to use shorthand, so I just have like little words and things that come up a lot, so that I'm not spelling out this 11 letter long words. So I have a little bit of shorthand system, so that's okay to use. REM, remove, space, something. You can do things like that. Makes things go faster and a little easier. I always start on the letter charts. I'll start with the commands, questions, problems, or stressors. Let's say, so I'll go Q, P, S, or whatever. And that's where it'll tell me to start the clearing. So that's my system.
So you're programming it to work in a certain way that you can understand it and you can get there a lot quicker, right?
Yep, exactly. So I have a very simple system I start off with before I start spelling really crazy words, which do come up.
Yeah, because sometimes the word that they're trying to communicate with, they don't know what the word is. So that's why you go back and forth to the stressor charts, master charts, and then to the letter chart to get into play. When I found, this is an interesting story, when I found the word ruthenium, it was, I kept on getting the word on the letter chart, started getting the word Soviet. Soviet what? Soviet missiles, Soviet voodoo, what? And then after a few days of that, I got led to the mineral charts that this person was deficient in ruthenium. It's like, that's not a nutrient, that's a toxic element. But we went there, and it all started to come together that ruthenium is an element of source that can be used in order to make changes, raise vibration. Ruthenium is like, here I am, use me. So we started using it, and it's become this, and even Wayne says, yeah, I use ruthenium all the time. So we got confirmations, we got tingles. It's like, okay, we're on the right track here now. So we started making little spray bottles with the intent of the essence of ruthenium within it. And now I had got it on my website. People are buying it going, this stuff is like liquid fireworks. It's amazing. So we know we're getting confirmations about this element, and how well it's working for us. So of course now you want to start venturing down other roads with different elements and see what they do. But right now ruthenium seems to be a do-all. I've tried working with different elements. I've tried Aderon. I've tried noble shungite, and they're there, but nothing screams use me like ruthenium does. So when you take your pyramid and you put the intent to put ruthenium into somebody's grids, before you start working on them, now they've got a raise in vibration that you can probably do something more with. So you take that intent of ruthenium, just intent. Everything is intent, kids.
Put it in the closet or something.
Hi, Nadine.
Hey.
Everything is intent. So when you put that intent of ruthenium into somebody, their grids, their lungs, their heart, pericardium, their brain, and you put it in the right place, now their energy is going to go way up, and you put it there in a vortex, you put it there perpetual, make the intent for it to be perpetual, and they're going to always have this ruthenium to keep raising their vibrations. Kelly, what do you know about ruthenium, dear?
Oh man. So for me, ruthenium has been amazing. It was starting to come through like 6-9 months ago during sessions that I have been acting, as I'm sure others have, as a kind of a container for the ruthenium to come, down to the physicality here, and then to be able to kind of spread it out. But the way in which I've been using ruthenium is as an amplifier. So for me to use ruthenium on its own, unless I'm in a session with Chris, it feels almost too heavy, is kind of, I don't know, too dense. But if I use it as an amplifier to things that feel much more resonant for me, like I feel really resonant with Celestine and Celestine Light. And then Chris, when you brought through about the indium, so I am using like ruthenium infused indium for the healing of my grids and auric fields. I use Celestine Light. That's usually my kind of go-to for cauterizing kind of auric wounds and everything through to the physical as well. And then actually recently I had a really awesome experience of, it was just last weekend, an acute injury to my right foot and left knee. I've been through many injuries before, and I'm so grateful that I've had gotten to the point where I had that moment where I was completely calm. All the mental programming that normally would have flooded through, like, oh my God, did I break my foot? How long is this going to take to heal? All of these types of things. I wasn't allowing that programming to run, which allowed me to stay in a place of peace and presence. But by that evening, the pain in particular in my right foot, I was like, oh, this is problematic. This is probably, like, I could feel the fracture. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do about this? I reached out to a friend for some support. She wasn't available at that moment, which was a perfect opportunity because I was helping somebody else, coaching them through a crisis. And after that, I realized, oh my gosh, that's what I can do for me. And so what I saw in that moment is, all right, just take all, kind of like when you're gathering ingredients for cooking. It's just a recipe. And everybody's going to have their own individual recipe that feels best for them. But I was like, oh, okay, I know what to do here. So it was all through intention of just taking, all right, I'm going to use the ruthenium infused Celestine for this. I'm going to clear this. Oh, this is the entity that interfered with that. And it was so within probably 15 seconds, my pain completely disappeared. The inflammation that was starting to build both in my right foot and left knee just completely went away. And honestly, it was to the point where, like, I didn't get up. I was like, I'm just gonna let this settle, because maybe this is in my head, because I play that game like, oh, maybe I'm just making this up. And an hour later, when it was Nicola, thank you, Nicola, she texted, she's like, all right, I'm free now. And I'm like, I think I'm good. Like, the pain is gone. I got up and I walked, and I'm like, I'm not walking with a limp. And so I was like, all right, I want to see what it's like the next morning. The next morning, again, I probably would have just thought like, oh, I made it up, except for the fact that my family members were there when we dropped the piece of furniture that we were moving directly on my foot. And when I, used my knee to try to catch the piece of furniture so it wouldn't fall down the stairs and kill my dad. And the only thing was left was the memory of this occurring and the knowingness that my family watched the whole thing. And then I checked my foot and there was a bruise on top, exactly where the furniture crashed down on my foot. And it was like, huh. So it was, for me, the perfect kind of experience coming together of knowing like, yep, fractured my foot, but I did these things and it was effortless. The other thing for me for the foot was I sought to use like carbon C60, but again, the essence of it. I have the supplement upstairs, but I didn't want to go hobbling upstairs. So in that moment, I was like, I am just going to energetically create this recipe, intend that it does its work, and it did. And for me, again, this was just so acute and such a clear example of what could happen. And it's kind of given me the confidence is kind of the wrong word, but maybe just the clarity of knowing that other conditions I've been intending to heal for a very long time truly are healing, and they're just a bit more complex because they've been going on for 30 plus years. So, but I was like, it can be this simple. It can be this effective, and also knowing that I had somebody to reach out to be like, okay, acknowledging this, she couldn't help me in that moment, but that was actually perfect for me. And that's one of the things, again, Chris, we can talk about later when I do the presentation, but it's like, this is one of the things that I've been wanting to help facilitate. How do we transition from clients to those who want to do more to help themselves, let alone possibly become a TQH practitioner, how do we kind of like bridge that gap? I think Barbara's coming on the audio. Anyway, so yeah, that was great. As far as the grids and ruthenium, that's how I'm going to use the ruthenium to be able to infuse it into different things, because I feel like it's a catalyst for our intent. And I think Chris, that's what you called it, the intent of source or something.
Yeah. It is. Now, last time you and I spoke, Kelly, I mentioned, we were talking about that, and then I mentioned the Walter Russell tables.
No, I haven't had a chance on my list.
Ty knows a lot about the Walter Russell stuff. Why don't you tell us what you know about the Walter Russell stuff, Ty?
Gosh, do I know a lot about? I know a bit. The the elements are basically divided into octaves, and there's some octaves that are below what we consider the normal elements, hydrogen being the first element. Well, there's actually elements, versions of hydrogen below it. And then you get to the 10th octave, and then it sort of repeats into another dimension. So we're working with the waves and polarities of the elements, and they're very well described on this kind of wave element diagram that he made. So basically, I think of kind of almost frequencies or dimensions of different elements.
And my take on the Walter Russell stuff is a lot of it is, like, he was way before his time, back in the 1800s.
Totally.
I think he was getting a lot of information coming in about the possibility of certain elements. Like, he wasn't going out and chiseling a rock and saying, oh, look, I found unpentium. I'm sure a lot of it was more intuitive for him.
Well, he predicted many elements that came true. Absolutely, just by his wisdom. Pretty interesting.
Okay, now there's an element, like so in the charts there is the basic elements from the periodic table of elements. But if you want to look further into the Walter Russell stuff, what as a TQHer, we're all connected to that universe. We can create stuff. So there may be some variations where you can say, let's take a bit of that, a bit of that, bit of that, stir it up, and see what comes up. There's that possibility. It may work, it may not work, but if you want to start playing with different things, different ways of saying things, as a TQHer, you can do that. We have that ability. Our soul is so very strong that all of this stuff is at hand, and the stronger your soul is, well, the more you can command the elements to do things. So we're getting into a bit of alchemy. Again, the ruthenium seems to be the big one. Again, we've tried noble shungite, we've tried hematite, a lot of different things to do different things, but ultimately the ruthenium seems to be, here I am, please use me. So that's where we sit with that. So now let's get into the gray alien thing. Now, since I started,
can I make a little mention about ruthenium real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of the TQH people actually have a bit of ruthenium with them if they've gotten any of the orgone or the orgone pendulum. There's ruthenium in there, so
real ruthenium.
Real ruthenium. I went and purchased many vials, and there's a bit of that noble metal in there. So I'll have it.
So you can take that pendulum and download it into your pyramid. You can download it into your tent because you have it there.
Yep.
It's all about intent. I want to download this into my sacred heart, into my soul, so I can, send it off and do good things for people. So how you perceive things is how you're going to intend things. So if you want to perceive that ruthenium as an essence, as the energy of source, however you perceive it, however you want to present it. And the basic thing is whatever result you get is the biggest thing. There's so many people out there with so many different opinions on what things are. But with TQH, we take that opinion, apply it, and if we get a result, it's real. Okay, basically. So let's jump forward ahead and look at the gray alien things. Now, for since the beginning, I started doing this. A lot of things have been reptilian in nature. A lot of energies, a lot of things reptilian. But we're going to jump into the gray alien stuff. Now, there's only two species that I've ever really worked on removing from people, and that's the reptilians and the gray aliens. And there's variations on each in different ways, doesn't matter. But what I find, and especially Sweden seemed to be big, is that there's a lot of splicing of DNA from a gray alien to human. So it's almost like putting a round peg, square hole kind of thing. So by just intending to remove that gray alien DNA and replace it with human DNA generally is enough. But we're finding that more and more and more, that the manipulation of our makeup is very much contributed by these gray aliens, because of course, you know, everybody's seen on different news avenues about cows being butchered in the fields, you know, surgically removed of different body parts. And I don't know about you, but I've had times where I woke up and I'm in a paralysis. And I thought, okay, this isn't good, so I tell them all to fuck off. And they do. Ultimately, everybody is affected by these grays in different ways. Some people see them. Some people don't. Some people know what they are, how they operate. A lot of I'm sure there's a lot of these grays within the military, doing different things at different times. Who knows? I mean, we all have these ideas of grandeur of what's going on in the deep military, in the dumbs underneath the ground. I mean, there's many stories, and I've talked to many people on the radio shows I've done about what's going on way underneath the ground, and they all seem to have some different story. There's not a lot of confirmation on things, so you have to kind of like, okay, that's possible, maybe, kind of, sort of. But ultimately, because of the results we get when we remove that gray alien DNA from somebody, replace it with human DNA, that intent, there's the proof in the pudding right there. And it can be simple as that. Just knowing that there is that splicing, that gray alien DNA. And what I find with a lot of people too with COVID is that it's already in our body, and something activates it. Okay, the witchcraft intent can activate it. There's many different activators that it can happen. I just worked on a guy last week. He was basically on his deathbed with COVID. He's a longtime client. And he said, help. And I said, okay, let's go. Let's help. And we found all kinds of stuff. And today he's walking around. He feels great. It's still there, but he's feeling probably 75% better, which is proof in the pudding that you just do the sessions. Do question number 1, question number 2, answer number 1, number 2, clear, and all of a sudden things start to lift. That's really how easy it is. There's people who I get a lot of emails. How does your course work? When are the classes? And I said, there's the classes every day. You pick up that pendulum, you start going on the charts. You're in school. You're being shown by source, by the pendulum, on how to do this, and you're going to make it work the way you understand it. And then you also have to understand how it's trying to teach you. So I'm not going to teach you. The charts, the pendulum, source is going to teach you. So start to realize that the information you're getting can be, like throwing breadcrumbs at you. Let's see how good she is today. Let's throw this and this and this and see if she can put it all together. And that's how Ruthenium came up. Is I followed the breadcrumbs and realized, okay, they're trying to tell me something, and sure enough, they did. So it's really intuitive, really open-minded, realizing what's available out there. And if you can realize that, again, it's the new things that are coming in. Sometimes you got to take the old, push it aside, and bring in the new so that you can learn more and go further with how to get to these dark energies and all these problems. My intent here is to take somebody with cancer, diabetes, cerebral palsy, and 2-3 sessions done. That's where I want this to go. And anybody out there who's doing TQH can do that too. If you use it every day, if every other day, get yourself clients who will be like guinea pigs, do sessions with them. Now Kelly has really taken the bull by the horns here, and she's gotten a group together. There's Kelly, Nicola, and I think Yara in Mexico, they're all really talking together and they're helping each other out and they're learning off each other. So if you want to reach out to the community, and when you get the course, I do a welcome email, and you get all the emails of everybody in TQH. You can reach out and say, hey, is there anybody who would like to bounce ideas off of, anybody who would like to do sessions with, and learn more about this, and then you can create groups and have discussions, and make it a community thing. Make it something that you're not just alone. Okay, I got my pendulum, let's do something. You know what, you get some answers and you're kind of unsure, contact your group and say, you know what, here's what I'm finding. Can anybody, elaborate on this? And you're going to learn off each other. Now, of course, I'm here if you have a question, if you have a concern. What does this mean? What does that do? I'm definitely going to help you. That's why you pay the money. It's not for the tools. I mean, that's all included, but ultimately I want to be here to make sure you're doing things the right way, answer questions, take care of concerns, and make sure that you're going to do this properly, because ultimately we want this to work. I don't want your money. I want this to work for you. And ultimately I want you to be able to help your family, your friends, people around you. And if you can make a buck or two along the way, great. Okay, that's ultimately what we want to do, is create a whole network of people doing true quantum healing, so that people know, I have a problem, I can look up a true quantum healing practitioner and this will get taken care of. And that's another thing we're going to do is make a list of practitioners, like actually practicing practitioners. If you want to be on that list, Kelly and I are going to put that into play and help everybody out.
Well, actually, I know you asked me to, based on kind of what you just shared, to come up with a presentation, which I've been thinking a lot about. So if and when you're ready, or if this is a good time for the segue into that, I'm ready.
Sure, go right ahead, Kelly.
Okay, cool. So I just want to say hello, and I know that I haven't met still a huge portion of you. So just a brief intro, kind of where I'm coming from, because I feel like that can really help inform kind of to this now moment, and then put into context the intentions that I've had in coming into TQH and now beyond. So I'm someone that had lifelong illness and bizarre injuries, things that just could not be explained. I went completely through the mainstream medical system, the holistic health system, then got into energy healing. And for the most part, I just got significantly worse and didn't know why. By the time I met Chris and Antai and Nicola and Yara, I had completely lost hope or faith that anything could actually even help. It was more just out of like, all right, unless I know something more to do that I haven't done, it usually takes a little bit to be like open again to doing that. But by the time I was referred to Chris, I was like, all right. So when I met Chris, it was really an interesting experience, because here's someone that not only could handle, that wasn't running away from my often at times very visible display of symptoms. I would have these moments where I would start tremoring like a Parkinson's patient, and it would take over my whole body and look like a seizure. And really what it was is attempts at walk-ins and entity interference, along with auric field damage and grid damage, all kind of in this cacophony of energies. And so it's taken quite a bit to begin reclaiming sovereignty from significant interference, and then getting stronger, because the clearer I got, things didn't get easier. In a sense, things were actually the easiest when I gave up and tried and basically stopped trying to feel better. The moment I had any thought or positive intention and action to figure out the next step is when the interference and the targeting would get even more severe. So one of the things I've kind of needed to figure out, and now that's what I'm intending to create in a community sense, is, all right, how do we get the support that we need in a way that is truly aligned with source guidance and within a kind of a safe haven community that really provides support kind of in between sessions, so that integration aspect, because the sessions are amazing. They really speak to themselves. And I think that's why TQH has been something that's really progressed over the last 12 plus years. But I've kind of noticed kind of a gap in between, all right, so I know that I need some clearing, or I'm getting clearer on when I know that I need support, but sometimes it's the in-between moments, especially when I first met Chris and Ty in particular. So much of this information was so outside my frame of reference, because having lost my true connection with source and source guidance, and so much doubt and fear coming in my whole life, so many of the things that resonated that were coming up within TQH, it's like the cognitive dissonance was so intense that it was actually hindering my ability to allow the energetic shifts, the clearings and the healings to come through to the physical. So there was like this huge block for me within my fields and levels of intent that I needed to be able to address in a systematic way for actual integration. And then the emotional and mental kind of like wrapping my head around it, because I'm someone that very much likes to understand the why. Originally, I was going to be an architect. So I'm very much that kind of the combination of the form and function, appreciating the artistry, but it doesn't really mean anything to me unless I can bring it through to the engineering aspects. So I appreciate the elements, but it's like, all right, the energetics of this and that is really cool, but it's like, how can I use that? How can I really embody this? And so that's where last summer I began seeing that I knew that I wanted to create some sort of community as a means of support for clients who are just kind of reeling. They're coming into TQH and they need a bit more support, but in a way where they don't necessarily need any more sessions than they have. Maybe once a week is enough. But the in-between time. So for me, finding Chris was amazing and Ty, but I needed somebody to talk to about this stuff, because otherwise I just kept bouncing back into, I must be crazy, because no one in my, and still in my, the rest of my life could possibly relate. And basically they didn't really want to hear about it because it was very scary to them. It was outside of their frame of reference. So being able to build a community that can cater to these types of conversations, where maybe we meet twice a month to just have like a live Q&A, or just to be able to talk about the latest clearings, healings, and experiences that we're going through. So this has kind of been snowballing. I began a Telegram channel. So there's a lot of information I've been thinking since Chris mentioned this about 2 weeks ago, how I wanted to communicate what I've been up to. And I was very clear until last night. And then the next level of everything started breaking wide open. I was like, okay, so glad I'm so prepared. And now everything is shifting. So just intending that whatever needs to come through now for this moment is going to happen, and just knowing that it's in a constant state of evolution, which actually brings me to the main platform I've created, or the main idea is called Enlightened Evolution. That also, I think, Pamela, I believe she mentioned that something came through a bit ago in a vision, and this came through about a couple months ago. And so Enlightened Evolution is kind of the main community that I'm building to support continual awakening, enlightening, and ascension. And that is kind of a ever evolving framework for what I resonate with, which is ultimately transcendence. So out of the matrix grids and everything else. But right now we are kind of here to do a lot of work within the structure that has been created, even as we are continuously shifting things and bringing through, new source templates and such. So Enlightened Evolution has a couple different avenues. I began with a Telegram group, so active on Telegram for the moment. Chris already mentioned, I started the @True Quantum Healing channel, so you can check that out. I'm at Enlightened Evolution, and I can send a follow-up email with all these links to make it easier. And there, I've been sharing notes from my own personal sessions as well as client sessions. Now, when I go through a session as a client, I'm writing down from my own sense of integration, kind of the clearings that are coming through, and then any real-time moments of intuition and knowing that I'm also directly connected with source guidance that kind of help paint a bigger picture, being able to see the forest through the trees. And that for me helps with integration versus when I was just kind of in the moment and just allowing these things almost to kind of happen to me, I wasn't as active in the experience of being able to integrate it real time. And I kind of then went through a letdown of being connected with somebody else that I deeply resonate with because of their energy field, but then the in-between moments were a bit more challenging. Julie, would you mind muting yourself or just getting some feedback possibly? Okay. So what I started doing was sharing these notes, but then I saw very quickly, all right, I need to put this really within a container, kind of a safe space where I know who's coming into it and can hold really strong intention as to who's accessing these notes and how these are going to be used to facilitate an opportunity to have more conversation around it. So for the last 2 months on Patreon, that's the platform that I'm currently using, it's a membership site where I'm sharing notes from my own, like I said, my own sessions and client sessions. Everything's been in continual evolution. So now I am, after the fact, other pieces of information, kind of more puzzles to the whole picture of what's coming through. I'm writing those intuitive notes in addition to the clearings, like alongside the clearings. Then I'm embedding resources within them, because if you're anything like me coming into TQH, like, what the heck is a gray alien? So, you know, some people, you know, will know what the avatar body is, or will know what ruthenium is, and some of the newbies may not. So it's for not just practitioners, it's for clients who are looking to have more, to have a sense of community as they're getting into this TQH thing, since we're spread all over this beautiful, amazing world. But it's also for active practitioners who are looking to connect with and to keep discerning, you know, what's the latest. Like Ty hopped on earlier and is like, hey, what's going on? What's the latest clearing? So that's something that I'm very much keeping up with day to day, usually moment to moment. And so it's my intention to have kind of a hub to be able to share that information. The next level of that, to make things even more concise for the most busy practitioners, is creating a quantum healing glossary, which will again have resources in maybe a brief description, but again, all of this is in continual evolution. So these are just tools that, you know, are resources that you may agree with, you know, what I'm bringing through, or it might open up something for you to be like, oh, actually that doesn't resonate, but it opens up this. So you can see how the information settles for you and what it's opening up. Then with each session, I'm very visual and I love color. It speaks to me in so many different ways. So what I'm doing with each series of notes that I post is I'm either finding or creating a photo or image that is my intention to capture the clearing and healing benefits that are associated with that set of notes. And sometimes just looking at that image can help us settle if maybe we're in, you know, the state of chaos or ready for next levels of light body integration or whatever. It's my intention is just kind of a beautiful thing to help focus the energies on. And then you'll also see I love emojis. For me, I feel like English, even though it's my only language, is definitely not my first language. I feel very limited. I'm terrible at communication. So I use emojis within the notes as another means to communicate maybe what that clearing is about, also bring some humor. You'll find that the use of the poop emoji is in there, which makes my friend Yara laugh quite a bit. And it's so much of this is intended to make this lighter, because so much of TQH is what we're doing is some really heavy lifting. I've needed tremendous support in that way, and I'm kind of seeing For me, I kind of leave that to the professionals. You know, Chris and Ty and Nicola do some really heavy lifting when it comes to kind of pulling people out of first maternities, second maternities, and helping. And I feel like I can help with bridging the gap of kind of moving your anchor, your energetic anchor from that place to kind of a more of a home or neutral space, a higher dimensional plane. I mean, there's so many ways of looking at this, so that you can kind of find homeostasis, integrate kind of what you're going through, everything that's been, because as we do this work, more memories will open up. And that's not always easy to integrate. So having that time and space between sessions or through intent to really integrate is just as important as the clearings and the healing commands. Beyond that, I I wanted to separate out kind of what I'm seeing as something that I'm offering for other people. And again, all of this is evolving, but I started a second channel called Graceful Warrior Life, because my name, Kellyanne, means graceful warrior. And that's really about my own personal journey, because I feel like I knew that my clearings were not just meant to be mine. They were meant to be shared and could be of benefit for other people to interpret as is meant for them. That was my original intention with sharing them. And now knowing, all right, stepping to the next iteration. So I'm also seeing that me going about my daily life, knowing that I'm leading an ascension and transcendent centric life, it's important that if in whatever way I can share that for those who have felt maybe really alone and really lost and feeling almost like in the void of, all right, well, now I know why so many things maybe didn't resonate my whole life. And I'm so excited because now I feel like I'm stepping onto the right path. But like we were chatting about earlier, it doesn't necessarily get any easier when we step onto a right path, often because there is a lot of interference, because there are beings who don't want us to ascend. They don't want us to be successful. So how do we, as we're kind of leveling up, really anchor in more and more sovereignty, connection with true source, intuition, and clarity of intent with discernment? How do we do this on a continual basis? Because the more we get on our path, it's not a hierarchy, but for the sake of explanation, it's like the higher up we go, the further we do have to fall. So how do we kind of stay on our path in a way that is infused with more ease and grace and humility and compassion? And so these are just kind of my intentions, evolving from that with my background as a holistic health coach and having to figure out how to heal myself is something I want to offer through Enlightened Evolution coming up is the quantum cleanse. So many people do, detox cleansing and this and that. And in my experience, so many of those protocols don't necessarily work for really sensitive beings because we are different, because our energy fields are different, our digestive systems are different, or our grids still need a lot of healing in order to be able to properly process the density that we may still be consuming in the way of foods or toxins or whatever, while simultaneously clearing excess density in a way that doesn't cause extra distress or lymphedema or anything else. So my intention with this quantum cleanse is kind of to bring in a tremendous amount of detoxification and cleansing experience in the physical, but to combine it with source guidance so people know and we can support each other to know, all right, what are the best next steps? Somebody who's used to eating a meat diet, going vegan might not be the best for them. It might not be resonant for them at all. And I don't subscribe to any concepts or limitations of, a lot of people in the new age seem to feel that you cannot ascend if you're still a meat eater. I don't think there's any blanket statements to any of this stuff. I don't feel like there's any hard lines with anything. I think anything is possible, but it's
So
figuring out
you're
what's right
really
for
taking
you.
this to another level. You're applying all these other things along with TQH to make a super modality, let's say.
Well, and that's where the next level of that I've been intending is the Conscious Healing Collective, which really speaks to the practitioner. So this is still very much in formulation. I have been like, build it and they will come, build it and they will come. So this is something that has been on my mind for a long time, of being able to connect with fellow quantum healing practitioners and conscious creators. So this is speaking to artists, musicians, whatever, who are here to really express and create kind of this new world, or whatever it is that we're stepping into out of the old 3D systems. And this is where concepts of conscious commerce and stepping outside of the frameworks and the quantum locking systems that have been in place. And I'm still this is everything that was shifting as of last night. So I was like, oh, great. So I thought I had everything figured out this far, and now it's all shifting. But how to facilitate, and this is, really with TQH, it's like for those who do want to connect, to say have weekly calls just to check in, see like, hey, is your dowsing wonky this week? Because mine is. Or I feel like there's such value in when people of like-minded intent come together that beyond transcends words. Everything's energy anyway. And that's been one of the struggles I've had in connecting with this community. It's been phenomenal, but I'm like, I want to be able to connect in a way where we can just be in each other's presence a bit more. And energetically, it's like we don't even have to, maybe, like I was also thinking of, soul tribe calls or something like that, but just a space to connect and kind of just anchor in a higher level of vibration. That alone is healing.
I think that's what's really needed is for people, not just 4 times a year to do a webinar and talk, but
Right.
On an ongoing basis, be able to bounce ideas, be able to communicate. Because if I go upstairs and start talking to my wife about this, she's going to say, sit down and have some supper, because I don't understand a word you're saying. So we need to be able to have that talk with other people that don't think we're crazy.
Well, that's it. And for me in particular, I was like, it's not quite Stepford Wives, but I pretty much grew up in that type of area. And so many of these kind of conversations are like, and then it just everything is just something where it's like, okay, I can't continue trying to have these conversations, even though I need it to get the kind of energy out and creative energy flowing. But I'm like, it's going to do harm and damage to our relationship, because they're there, in their own process and I'm in mine. And so I have so many ideas, like before we were talking about like healing alchemy. I know as a personal healer, that's something I'll be stepping into. And, I was talking with an electrical engineer friend of mine recently, and he is in no way resonant to, hilarious because he's an electrical engineer, but concepts of energy. So he thinks all aspects of, Reiki are a joke, which I can see his perspective in some ways, but I'm seeing how things are opening up, and I'm seeing that when we get excited about things, want to share and connect, there's so much value to that. And if we can support that versus feeling like, oh, I can't because I'm going to trigger them, or do this or that, do that. So I want to be able to offer a space where we can connect and, without judgment, without, fear of persecution, because I know, so many of us have been burned at the stake in other lifetimes, and there's a lot of fear there. But I just feel like being able to be ourselves and have something in common like TQH, but knowing that this is kind of just a launching off point for really what each of us as individuals is meant to be going into. So that's kind of what's formulating around Conscious Healing Collective. And then within that, which is probably a whole nother conversation, is small business coaching for, all right, so TQH resonates. You're going to make a transition from being a client to getting the course, and you're seeing, actually, I really love doing this. I would love to do this every day, and to help other people. How do you bridge the gap between this 3D world of money and frameworks and all of this type of stuff to make a go out of being a TQH practitioner? And having that support. So anything from creating branding for your business from a creative sense to being able to consciously communicate about what you do and how, so that it reaches the right people. That's something that just personally I would love to get into and support practitioners on. And goodness, I'm trying to make this really concise. I know Chris is like, she could talk forever.
Boss just came home, so.
So lastly, for the moment, I think just two more things to mention is, so for February 1st, so like I said, I'm active on Patreon at Enlighten Evolution. And like I said, I'll send a follow-up email with all of these links to make it really concise. Right now for you and for clients on my Linktree page for Enlighten Evolution, there are a bunch of free resources there that have gotten taken down twice because of censorship. So a lot of intention and heartfelt effort has been put into that. And I've had to adjust a lot of what I put there because my intention was really to support awakening, like wherever the soul was at as far as awakening, enlightening, and ascension. But because of censorship and targeting, that's been interfered with quite a bit. But I'm intending that to be something that for clients who are just trying to, get their feet wet and make sense of this experience, where can they start? I had some other things regarding human trafficking and, resources for that on there, but I think that's why I got shut down twice. So those resources are no longer on there, but there are other things that perhaps I can create another list at some point. So these are different levels of offerings within the Patreon community. And for February 1st, all of that is going to be set and kind of like reopened. And the different tiers will offer opportunities to access the notes, the quantum healing glossary that is coming to fruition, opportunities to connect on monthly calls, and beyond. So all of this is still kind of coming to the final stages of fruition for the moment. And ultimately, what I really want to be doing is supporting practitioners and the conscious creative.
Yeah. You know what? We definitely need to do something. You're looking for a practitioner in this area. In the UK, we've got Alicia, we've got Bridie, Ina. There's so many different practitioners in the UK that have come up, which is big. The UK the energy there is so dense that it really needs this big influx of practitioners. There's people in Czechoslovakia. We've got people all over the world, almost literally, that are doing TQH, that we can really create this network of working off each other. So somebody gets an appointment request to do like a 3 a.m. because somebody's in Australia. Well, you can refer them to Chris Fabish. You can refer them to somebody in that area to help out. So we're going to create a network of TQH, which is just an awesome thing.
Well, that's it. That's it. Two other aspects. Thank you for mentioning that, because the practitioner directory is one, just so that people can kind of just see who's out there doing what. I feel like also, again, from a 3D perspective, low vibe perspective, it lends legitimacy to how long this has been going on, because for so many people, this is still something that's really so new to them. So this is one way that this could be put on the map. And then from there, my intention kind of for the next iteration of that is a referral network. So being able to know like Ty and Nora, what they're really great at versus Chris versus Nicola versus Bridie versus Yara, any of you who want to connect, I really genuinely want to get to know you and what are your passions, what are your interests, what do you feel like is your unique approach to TQH and how you can support. And that's going to be informed by your own experience and then what's coming through a source guidance. So not everyone's going to feel resonant to the quantum cleanse or certain forms of entity attachments, but they might feel really resonant to healing alchemy or whatever else.
Sure.
So that's where I feel like the next level of that is being able to really highlight what people are great at, and Ty in particular, what he creates as far as tools. And anyway, so I think I'm going to hold it there for now.
Okay.
But yeah, if anyone would like to connect to learn more, to kind of be involved in the next level of this creation, you can find me at enlightenevolutionlife@gmail.com. I am on Instagram and Telegram at Enlighten Evolution and at Graceful Warrior Life. Most of the juicier stuff is on Telegram because of censorship on Instagram. And beyond that, on Patreon, we'll really not be holding back there, and in these types of settings as well as the live calls. So definitely check it out, reach out, let me know. Telegram, you can privately message me at Kelly Ann McGarvey. Yeah, my name is listed on the thing for spelling.
Well,
And,
listen, I'm certainly
yeah.
glad you're on my side.
Yeah, I know. I'm a force to be reckoned with when I'm feeling well. That's why they've kept me down for so long. But yeah, I genuinely want to connect with people because I feel like we are so much stronger together than we could ever be apart. And that's why I feel like so many of us have not basically have been targeted and have been kept from being able to come together. So that's my intention.
Good. Thank you so much, Kelly. Beautiful, beautiful. And again, I'm glad you're on my side because to do stuff like that, forget it. That's gonna go nowhere with me. So we're gonna end it there unless anybody has any last minute questions.
Oh wait, let me just mention. And yeah, we mentioned this earlier, but I also started, now Chris is coming into at True Quantum Healing on Telegram as well. So I'm sure we'll continue transitioning with that. But I've just been posting kind of some older videos that had some great info and interviews, and then any new stuff that comes up. So anything Chris posts to YouTube, or now I guess it might be BitChute, because the censorship is there, you know. We can just, I don't know if yeah, it reminds me of like the spin move in basketball. If anybody's played sports, it's like, you know, they'll try to block us here. All right, we can just spin around it. We'll just keep going. They're not going to take us down.
All right. Anybody else questions?
I have a little statement. If anybody is new and they're trying to figure out the stressor charts, Linda and I a couple months ago went through the definitions of stressor charts. So I have a pre-recorded presentation that they're just my takes on the stressors, are not necessarily definitive, but it might help some newbies out. So just email me if you want a link to that recording.
Ultimately, with the stressors, that's a good. I'm glad you did that, Ty. But if you don't understand what it is, just say the word because source knows. Just false the word, and it'll take care of itself. You don't have to really understand. It really helps if you can understand what it is, so you can put your intent into that. But if you don't know what it is, just cancel it and carry on.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's where we're gonna let her go. Again, the boss is home. We need to get the kids off to a swimming lesson. And any questions, send an email. We're here. Okay, all of us. We're all here. Let's all make this a real thing for 2022. All right.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Mariette.